What's good, everyone? I wanted to do just a quick video on my current gaming setup. It's under $100 about if you're patient, and I just wanted to talk about it, maybe a little bit about retro games in general and why I'm going down this route. Obviously, the big factor involved here is the cost, right? So if you're pretty patient, you can find used DSIs for about 50 or so bucks locally. And same with the Chimui Smart Pro. You can find them new for about the same price. You know, the whole AI chip shortage has caused a lot of problems as far as finding things on a lower cost go. But if you're patient, you know, you might even be able to get a 3DS instead of a DSI, which would give you access to like a whole nother system. Really, I picked the DSI just because I already owned one. And the reason I jumped between both, honestly, is because there's lots of stuff on the DS that just feels better when you get to use the original hardware. You know, you got the OG touchscreen that you grew up with, and it's just, there's just like, it doesn't compare. And obviously the Chimui doesn't do touchscreen. I can play DS stuff on there if I do that weird thing where like the window's next to the big window and like a smaller window. I don't know how to describe it. I obviously can't do touchpad stuff, so that's already, you know, eliminates a lot of those games. But it just feels better. Even if it's like something I could do on the Chimui, I would rather have access to that original Nintendo touchscreen, you know? And it's a bummer because right now my DSI unfortunately needs a battery replacement, which is unfortunate because I was really looking forward to playing some visual novels on here. I'll show them on screen if I'm able to. Maybe it'll be a quick rec to get you interested in something. But the reason I game exclusively on handhelds at the moment is just two reasons. One is obviously, like, again, the cost thing. It's real tough to keep up with a couple of $100 into a console. And then if you want access to like retro stuff, you're looking at subscription, which is not the worst, you know, it's not the worst cost wise, but the main reason you would want obviously a modern console is to keep up with current releases, which like are starting to balloon in cost. Not that it's like not worth it, but when you're talking about $80 games, it's kind of like, okay, like you'd really have to like, you know, be patient with it in order to be like budget friendly. You'd have to like space out your purchases and stuff like that. But I do think there are some advantages to retro gaming on the handheld. I know there's the Switch and that you can take on the go, but just hear me out for a second here. You know, with retro gaming, I think for me, like a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for right now is more so experiences that I probably wouldn't have tried otherwise. You know, like I really am a big fan of being able to dig into like the past, things I got maybe overlooked, stuff that isn't like so well regarded. Like, you know, it lets me take risks, basically. I can kind of, it's almost like browsing like a record shop. Like it lets me just kind of like take a glance, like, what is this? And then just go for it. And, you know, if it ends up being bad or I don't like it, you know, there's no real risk on my end. I think here's a good example. You know, there's games that I've gotten to try through these handhelds that like, I'm so happy I got to try them, but I absolutely would have not otherwise. Like it gave me the opportunity to try this. I played a game called, it's for the PSX. It's Laputa. If you look up Laputa PSX, it'll show up. I don't know the full title, but to give you the context, this is a game that came out only in Japan, you know, decades ago now. And the only reason I got to try it and not have to go hunting for it, like either in Japan or paying like a really crazy import fee on top of whatever the game costs now, I also got to have it translated because there's an awesome community that really loves retro games. And especially for, if they get more specific, you know, like you'll find people that are into your handheld specifically, or you'll find people that are into like specific old school consoles. And even for games from Japan that didn't make it over, you'll find communities that are into that stuff. So that's how I found a translation for this. This one dude worked on it real hard, and people are always looking for, like similar to me, like they're looking for cool experiences that maybe they wouldn't have gotten to try. Obviously, like I live here in America, so I never would have come across this by normal means. And it was really awesome. It's so ugly and at the same time so beautiful, this game. It's very like old school 3D, which is something that I love. And it has this very like exploring the island type of vibe to it. I've played LSD, Dream Simulator, and a little bit of Myst too. And it has that vibe of like you mash those games together, but the puzzles, aren't that hard, and like the actual graphics and stuff like that, they're not as trippy as LSD. It was really cool because it's like the whole point of it, like, is that it takes place on like these floating islands, and like I got some ideas for my own creative work, just like walking through the game and seeing like the style of it, because it's based on this like Japanese painter or whatever that had a particular style. I'm gonna butcher it, so I won't I won't say his name. Hopefully I can display it right here if I remember. But it's experiences like this is the kind of things that I'm looking for, like I'm not just looking to get into retro gaming just so I could like like play like freaking like Mario Brothers all day. Like there is room for that. Usually how I'll handle like my retro gaming setup is that I'll play like 3 games at once. One game is for the one I'm doing for my series on this channel, like the weekly beat this game type of deal that I pick at random. The other one's usually something story heavy, like Laputa, for example. At the moment, next, I'm playing through Terranigma for the Super Nintendo, which is same deal. And that only came out in Europe, I think, and I wouldn't have gotten to try it otherwise, because most of my Super Nintendo games came from either America or Mexico. And not to mention, too, it was like a very late console release. So the chances of me having run into it without like the discourse, the passion behind the community online, were probably going to be pretty low. But so far, I'm having a real blast. Oh, yeah. And then the third game, the third game is usually something like very quick, mindless, fun stuff that I can play like at the checkout line. At the moment, I'm playing through Cave Noir on the Game Boy, which is another game I didn't get to try. I think it's Japan only. And man, is it so rewarding, but so easy to just pick up and play, which I think leads into my next point with these handhelds. Again, I know the Switch exists, but it's so easy to just like find time to like plug and play. Like, check out the size of these things, right? Like if you know what a DSi size looks like, the TrimUI is significantly bigger, but compared to a Switch, like you can still, I'll cram this into my pocket, and it's not the most comfortable fit, but it works out okay. And it really is handy to be able to say like, I don't have all the time in the world, but I love gaming, and I'm able to just like straight up pick it up for like 10 minutes or something, and then I got to go do my next thing, or, handle some other type of activity. Like being able to hop in and out like that so easily. And then you can find operating systems for your handheld that make that even easier. Make it easier to organize your game collection, your digital game collection, make it easier to boot in and out the games. Like there's so many quality of life features. You've got save states so that you can just save your progress at any time. You've got cool things like filters, like my TrimUI. And I'd love to do like a whole video too, where I really maximize the heck out of this, because I wanted to do a video on it originally, but I think it's going to take a little bit. It's a more like detailed video, I guess is what I'm saying. But I really went through, and one of the things I did was find filters to make it look like the consoles that I have on here, like say like the PlayStation or the Super Nintendo, have like this cool CRT filter on them, which is like awesome. And I get to make it look like extremely similar to how these games appeared when I was growing up. And then I've got handhelds on here too, that I will try to emulate the look of the original handheld. So, the original Game Boy, I have it filtered so that it displays to look like an original Game Boy. If I'm not lazy, I'll try to get some extra footage for this video so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Game Boy Advance, I did the same thing. It looks like a Game Boy Advance. And so there's lots of just like cool quality of life, like just fun things that you can do. Like if you really like to tweak things, if you like to adjust things, like there's just so much fun that you can have here. And it's real awesome. And so between like digging for, I guess, like gems, as the internet calls them, between trying to like play things that you normally wouldn't have, the ease of access, the customability, there's just so much that I know I started off with price, and that isn't to say that games, like modern games, as much as I would love to keep up with them, aren't expensive, like it's, again, a couple of $100 for a console. I think Switch games are like at $80 now, which I'm sure they're worth it, but it can add up real fast. And right now it's really enticing, obviously price-wise, to get into this. But I'm saying, I guess, besides just the price aspect of it, there's lots to just like find here that like will keep you busy. Like, and I know retro games have like this like this type of like, okay, it's all like simple, like simple arcadey type of vibe. And there is a lot of that, I do have a couple of arcade emulators on here, a couple of old school Atari emulators are here. So, I'm not saying like, yes, go play Centipede and like you'll have a better time. It's a better investment of your time than the new freaking like Clair Obscura RPG or whatever. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that this medium is so new, whatever, right? Like games have only been around for a couple of decades, that I think we're kind of due for like a couple of years, decades or whatever, of looking back at stuff that's already come out and just like getting like to give these games a new life. There's tons to go around, and I swear like you'll never run out of like, whether it's like stuff that I grew up with, like again, the Super Nintendo is something that I grew up with, but I have a couple of games on there that I'm looking forward to playing that I never got a chance to try. Some of which were really popular, like I never got to try Super Metroid growing up, and I'm excited to play that when I get a chance. But then too, there's tons of stuff that like I never would have encountered otherwise. There's the exclusive games that I mentioned, wouldn't have stumbled into those. But also too, even exclusive consoles, like I've got a Wonder Swan emulator on here, which is, if you don't know, basically the original Game Boy had a competitor more or less called the Wonder Swan, and it did okay, but it never left Japan, which is a real shame. And if I ever get the chance, I'd love to own one. Like I think I'll, shell out for a collector's copy. But because it never came to the States, there's games on here that are a lot of fun that I finally get to try just because I have access to like digital emulation for it. And I know I started off with price, but I think that was just to show you that the barrier of entry is really low at the moment for retro games. Like if you don't, honestly, like even if you don't want to do DS, for example, like say maybe you just want to do like, I don't know, no DS or the DS, but only stuff that you can like you don't need a stylus for. The TrimUI Smart Pro alone, like you can find this under $50 and you can find comparable, consoles. So it doesn't have to be this exact one, but you can find really comparable things for $30-$40 if you really look around and hunt for deals. And you won't run out of like really cool things to experience, basically, is what I'm saying. It's so easy to get into. And I know I said I like to like tweak things and, dig around and stuff like that, but you don't have to get that into it like I did. There's lots of really easy tutorials on how to do this stuff. And some of it's whether it's written or like YouTube tutorials, like it's just very accessible, basically. It's a very long ass way of saying that it's very accessible. I think I would have even gone this route of these handhelds regardless. I would have just picked like a much like maybe like a much more hardcore one, that one that can handle a little bit more, maybe like an Odin or a Retro Pocket, something that can play maybe like PS2 and GameCube as well. That would have been sweet. So, I could hop on the trend and go get an Ain Thor, maybe even two. That could be like my DS machine, honestly. But for me, it's because it's so like handy to be able to just, like just on a whim, like freaking pick it up, put it back down, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The amount of stuff that I get access to that I normally wouldn't have, like it's just so much fun being able to dig through history and decades of gaming and get to try things just for the sake of trying things. And there's no risk, there's no cost. Overall, like it's just a really good time, and it's its own specific thing, but it's easy to get into. There's lots of passionate people out here. I think you'll find more people that are passionate because some of this stuff is really like hard to get running, like to be able to patch games to be translated into English, to be able to talk about these consoles and these games that never came to America. You'll, if not talk to people, at the very least see the work that a lot of these people put into just keeping gaming alive. And I think that's a lot more enticing, a lot more fun. Even when I want to get into like more modern stuff with my current setup, there's things like Portmaster, which let me play some of my Steam games. And if not, it has streaming capabilities, so I can stream games from my PC. But I've got such a like back catalog with just the retro stuff that I don't know if I'll ever get into that. And I think modern gaming might be something that I freaking do like, when I'm way older, like, and I'm like, I don't know about retirement, but I may play like, like the more modern stuff way later and just really try to get through like all the retro stuff that I want to play. So yeah, that was it. I know it was just a little bit of an unorganized video, but I really like my current setup. I thought, hey, how fun. This is really easy to get into because it's only $100, give or take or so, to copy me, and easy. Everything has a tutorial, everything's documented, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of passion flying around, a lot of stuff that's like you get to try. If not, you don't like it, there's no big deal. And if you do like it, you get to experience stuff that you absolutely wouldn't have otherwise. And so hopefully that convinces you to follow suit, you know, and freaking get into some retro gaming, man. So that was it for this video. If you watched up to this point, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching all the way through. Obviously, I'll catch you guys during my like retro challenge, you know, that I'm doing every week. But yeah, like, please, like, I love this medium. So I love games so much for all those reasons. And there's just never been a better time to get into it. So if you're thinking about it, if you want to jump the gun, please leave comments, please ask. I would love to help you out based on what you're looking for. You know, like, you can give me your specifics and I'm so down to, like, you know, hook you up and guide you in the right direction. But other than that, yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video.